Good morning, St. Francis. Good morning, people of God. It is Friday, the 31st day of December 2022. It is New Year's Eve, the seventh day within the octave of Christmas. It is also St. Sylvester's Day, a optional memorial. Remember, Sylvester having been the Pope when Constantine decided to become Catholic and then change the course of the Church's history that eventually would lead to Catholicism, or Christianity, actually, becoming the religion of the Roman Empire. So we remember Sylvester on this day. Sometimes this day is called Sylvester in a lot of different countries, a lot of different cultures, because it celebrates this pope that was kind of pivotal, though he really is never really mentioned much. And so he had really no influence upon Constantine. It was that vision of conquest and that using the cross to conquer his enemies and become sole emperor of the Roman Empire that kind of influenced Constantine to become a Christian. So very odd, very odd. Also today we are remembering Pope Benedict XVI, who passed over to God, as well as Barbara Walters, who also has done so today, and then Pele a couple of days ago. So again, if they always say that these kinds of deaths come in threes, we've had three very quickly. So remember all of them to the glory of God. But on this New Year's Eve, on this last day of 2022, a year that has been all over the place, perhaps. But on this last day of 2022, we hear again from the first letter of John, as we will continue to hear all next week as the Christmas season continues. John writes about antichrists, and again, not antichrists as in The Exorcist and demons and things like that, but just people who think that they are the Messiah and they really aren't, and how basically you can tell that they are not the Messiah because basically they aren't producing anything, and they kind of just fade into the woodwork or fade away. And John kind of reminding the people who are listening to his letter of who they have been taught to believe in, and the one to listen to, and the one to believe in, and not to be distracted again or led astray or be bothered by any of these people who claim to know fully and more wonderfully, what God has in store for us than Jesus has revealed to us, because they are liars and they don't know what they're talking about. And so to use our wisdom as believers, which is always important. And again, each of us is given a wisdom to understand fully what it is that God is trying to do with us, with this world, with our future and destiny as humanity. Each of us are given that wisdom. We don't necessarily have to rely upon people who are set apart or who are labeled or who are identified as the ones who know best, because in many ways, each of us knows best, and each of us knows what to do and how to carry forth the mission and the message of Christ that has been given to us, that again, in this Christmas season, is in its quote-unquote infancy, so that we are able to fully embrace and to live out what it is that God has asked us to do. The gospel today is what we heard on Christmas Day. If you attended Mass on Christmas Day and not on the Eve or anything else like that, you don't get angels and shepherds. You get the Word made flesh, the first part of John's Gospel, the first chapter of John's Gospel. Again, talking about light and darkness, talking about the fact that although Christ came to his own did not believe him and would not listen to him. And so others basically took up the task. Now, again, it's not saying that Judaism is terrible and awful and that they have no place in God's life and things like that. But the reality is, in many ways, again, that Christ has something to say. And it isn't just, Judaism versus Christianity. It's all kinds of people to whom this gospel is given and who basically decide not to listen to it. Or even Christians themselves, to whom this great message of the gospel is given, who refuse to listen to it and yet still try to bear the name of Christian. Again, like the antichrists, they are all liars and cheats, and they should not be listened to. And even among those who say that they lead us within our church or lead us within our faith, if they are not living by the gospel and not trying to tell us, what it is that Jesus has asked us to do and asked us to be, but trying to make up connections that don't necessarily work and do not exist in the gospel, well, then again, we don't listen to them. They are the ones who are trying to lead us astray, and we need to know that. We need to witness to that. The whole idea about Christ coming is that God may become part of our lives in a more dynamic way than God already was, through creation. And this idea of becoming a part of everyone's life, not just Christians, not just Catholics, not just people who believe, but all people of every race, of every culture, of every shape, of every size, of every time, of every place. God is a part of their life because of this incarnation, because of this coming into this existence of this one who is called Christ, of this Jesus of Nazareth. We are to understand that in a dynamic, controversial, conflicting, confusing way. But the message always remains the same: that God becomes a part of our life, that we might recognize the fact that we are a part of God's life, and because of that, our human history is destined for glory. Our human history is destined for wonder. Our human history is destined to bring more and more the fulfillment and the completion of God's design for this world to birth. A blessed New Year's Eve, St. Francis and people of God, a blessed continuation of the Christmas season. May the Lord give you his peace.